Göbekli Tepe was regarded to be the world's oldest temple. Until recently, archaeology was shattered by a 2025 find. Something so advanced it shouldn't exist was locked in a vault below the site, ancient writings that suggest lost intelligence, unsuitable structures for events, and one thing the government won't reveal: this is no ordinary dig site. It's the start of a hunt for a reality humanity were never meant to find. It affects all we thought we knew. Start at the beginning of the mystery before discussing 2025's findings. Göbekli Tepe has a peculiar and old story. Plus, more questions arise as you look. Göbekli Tepe in the arid hills of southeastern Turkey near Syria is so old and obscure that it's rewriting our understanding of how society began. In a history book, this page is unusual. Tourists rarely take pictures and buy souvenirs here. However, historians are right that it's one of history's most significant discoveries. Göbekli Tepe, meaning Potbelly Hill, is supposed to be the earliest big construction. Between 10,000 and 13,000 years ago, the building was built. That was long before Egyptian tombs, Stonehenge, and farming. Only 10% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated, which is intriguing. What about others, under dirt, waiting to be found? Based on what scholars have unearthed, this old puzzle grows as they dig. In the 1990s, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt discovered the first significant findings during a closer study at a modest mound. It confirmed what most people think about history. He found massive T-shaped stone pillars in rings. Some weighed 10 tons and were almost 20 feet tall. These were more than stones. Each was painstakingly decorated with symbols, animals, and weird human-like figures. On surfaces, snakes move slowly. There are many foxes, ravens, and scorpions. Some believe it was the first attempt to draw legendary or mystical themes. Still no writing, not wheels, avoid hard tools, no animals kept as pets. People from this time were considered too unsophisticated to plan and build huge buildings. How did they succeed? Also, why is it crucial? Most people believe Göbekli Tepe was religious or ceremonial. Some say it was the earliest temple. Various nomad groups may have gathered here for rites, maybe religious, funeral, or seasonal celebrations. But questions remain. Why carve and move big stones for a ritual? How could they collaborate so widely without a central government or farmland to feed so many people? Klaus Schmidt had a big idea. He believed that Göbekli Tepe may have been built before farming began. Consider that many individuals attend a sacred occasion. They must eat. Their home matters. They need a cause to stay. They may have planted seeds, built storage, and settled down to meet this demand. Faith or rituals may have led to farming, not vice versa. Another mystery is if the place was intentionally buried. Someone or several people hid everything in the 8,000 years before our time. They didn't let nature take it. We still don't know why. Were the actions holy? Was it a means to end their culture? Did something happen to make them want to discard their work? Göbekli Tepe lets us reevaluate what we know about ancient people. These cave-dwelling nomads weren't stupid. Before literature or metal, they were organized, inventive, and good engineers. Despite its importance, Göbekli Tepe raises many issues. Every new discovery about our roots challenges our beliefs. We've explored Göbekli Tepe's rocks and dust, but more crucial concerns remain. All of it means what? Since experts and storytellers have different ideas, that's where the maze begins. As mentioned, analysts consider it a faith hub, a site for ceremonies, customs, and seasonal gatherings. Strangely, there are little traces of permanent residents, no homes, no fire pits. Trash shouldn't accumulate. It appears that people traveled far to meet here, performed their business, then left. Again, this contradicts everything we understood. Since large undertakings require a stable food supply, monument construction usually follows farming. Göbekli Tepe suggests otherwise. Sharing ideas may have brought people together before farming. That's the ground view. However, another idea is more intriguing. Göbekli Tepe may have been built by aliens. Really sorry, they say outside help was needed to build it so accurately and large for Stone Age humans. It may be evidence of an advanced society that perished in a calamity and was forgotten. People like these notions, but there's little evidence. They appear in books, YouTube videos, late-night podcasts, and ancient mysteries TV shows. These wacky ideas are more appealing because the site is private. It's mostly buried. We know nothing about what may be Earth's earliest building complex. People want to know why it was intentionally buried. Archaeologists believe Göbekli Tepe residents buried it in garbage and soil. That rarely happened before. Many places are abandoned and fall apart, but there was a strategy to hide it. No one knows why. When science is unclear, myths emerge. Some fringe beliefs believe the site is a portal, a star chart, or a coded message from a long-lost species. Raw and Earth, Internet discussions of ancient technology, energy lines, and Atlantis abound. Naturally, the media loves it. Not always awful. Stranger sights and hypotheses attract more attention. This has increased archaeological funding and attention, but it also makes fun and facts hard to distinguish. Now things get intriguing. What if these notions are false? What if popular opinion is wrong? What if myths, however false, reveal a secret we don't understand? Near Göbekli Tepe, tensions are high. Göbekli Tepe, tensions are high. Proof, expert theories, crazy speculations, and many questions exist. Despite our knowledge, the site is usually quiet. Though the old disputes continued, something changed. New information from 2025 affects our view of Göbekli Tepe. We discovered incredible things at Göbekli Tepe in early 2025. It surprised everyone. For decades, historians and scientists tried to interpret those unusual stone circles and lofty T-shaped pillars. As mentioned, most people thought it was a sacred center established by nomadic hunter-gatherers who came and went. No one considered living there full-time. Everything changed when the ground revealed new secrets. Our squad excavating the borders of the already exposed enclosures revealed residential spaces during the new season. True indications of human habitation, not just stones or rough earth shapes, hearths, pits for storing, foundation layouts. It appeared that many flat, smooth sections were worked on. Immediately, amazement and exhilaration followed this discovery. No one had strong evidence that Göbekli Tepe's builders lived there until now. Since the site didn't reveal traces of farming, habitation, or long-term occupation, researchers believed it was a holy rest station on old migration routes. But 2025's offerings didn't seem short-lived. Rondakshi and Kras, not just the living rooms, astonished us. Archaeologists unearthed plant and animal bones, stone blades, scrapers and cutting stones, wheat, beans, gazelle bones, and bird feathers showed that people had cooked and processed food here, indicating settlement. Grindstones indicate food preparation, indicating a longer stay. This wasn't camping, this was home. That idea alone makes us rethink the past. If Göbekli Tepe had a fixed or semi-permanent population, it modifies the story of how humans moved from roaming tribes to organized communities. Not just that did 2025 show us. As the team worked beyond the excavation zones, ground-penetrating radar readings showed something nearly surreal. Rondakshi and Kraskow, de passipals hadad frisage endevram, de Rondakshi and Kraskow Tizreal loin damin kazil wafos, that stuff aligned. They was before agriculture and metal tools. Most people lived in caves or fields. Everything seems large and scary. Over 200 additional standing stones, large slabs painstakingly built and placed, have been uncovered. These statue-like rocks were put intentionally. Like their predecessors, many are in circular or oval enclosures. Researchers found 15 new megalithic temples around the site. To be honest, we've hardly scratched the surface. Not even 10% of Göbekli Tepe is unearthed. Time has buried most of it, waiting to be found. Complete excavation could take 15 years. No exaggeration. Every shovel of soil could provide a life-changing discovery. The 2025 finding transformed Göbekli Tepe's story, not simply a few elements. For years, the site was thought to be a temple complex built by nomads and not a permanent residence. Now we must think differently. Many of the tools, food leftovers, and evidence of daily living indicate something considerably more complex than anyone expected. We may be looking at the world's oldest monument, and one of the oldest communities, built before we thought possible. What else have we done wrong? Fresh information filled in gaps and created a fresh story no one expected. Consider what's happening before rewriting history based on evidence. Archaeologists believed Göbekli Tepe was predominantly religious for years, an ancient sacred location. A location where small groups of hunter-gatherers worshipped and performed rituals before splitting apart. So goes the tale. While it made logical, the site had no buildings, streets, or kitchens. Thus, it wasn't apparent if people lived there long. There were just tall stone towers with animal and symbol carvings. After the 2025 breakthrough, everything changed. What scientists found alters more than outdated book notes. Visitors didn't merely pass through. Some appeared to stay longer. That's when things get interesting. If Göbekli Tepe was a center of worship and residence, we must rethink society's beginning. People have traditionally considered farming came first. People settled to raise animals and crops. Only after this did they develop complex societies with religions and governments. What if we were wrong all along? What if people needed to gather first for spiritual, community, or other reasons, and farming was a result? What if Göbekli Tepe inspired early people to settle and discover better food? Not as laid back. The data suggests that. That idea is strengthened by the site's design. They didn't just throw pebbles together to make this. Careful planning created the structure. Each circle of pillars appears to be carefully assembled, which may relate to the stars or seasons. The use of symmetry and repetition is clear. None of these people stumbled in the dark. They considered location, style, and purpose. Stone buildings were carved into them. Weird part is that this happened before farming, before pottery, before metal tools. Göbekli Tepe predates writing and the wheel. It predates Egyptian tombs too. But the design is huge. Some are almost 16 feet tall and heavy. This wasn't an overnight job. An even wilder edifice would have required a lot of teamwork. They had to cooperate to cut, move, and stack those stones. They have to have clear conversations, share tasks, and work together for long periods. Farmer communities regularly collaborate. However, they were still foragers. There are no farms. Cities are absent, helping others understand. New evidence of food preparation, tool-making, and maybe early animal domestication clarifies the picture. Göbekli Tepe was more than a temple. It may have been one of the earliest places people lived together, even briefly. They returned briefly, or stayed long-term, but settlement seeds were planted. The big question, does this change that? It changes the origin of civilization. Did people live and worship together, or did they wish to worship and move in together? Göbekli Tepe implies this. That reverses the plan. Previously considered odd, this site may be the missing piece of our story. It enhances our knowledge of past societies. It suggests that farming, cities, politics, and civilization may have evolved from the need for connection, meaning, and shared experiences. Everything. When we mention rewriting history, we don't mean minor adjustments. The beginning of human history is being altered. The first page may be Göbekli Tepe. If this place was the start of society, we need to rethink how it all began. Understanding civilization again. This discovery alters our view of ancient history from the start. A clean picture of human growth has long been our belief. After learning to farm, we stopped traveling and settled. After building homes and families, we constructed towns, temples, governments, and more. Our history timeline has long been based on the Neolithic Revolution, which occurred in that order. Göbekli Tepe now carries a distinct message. The most stunning possibility is that permanent or semi-permanent tribes existed before farming. It reverses the story. After building, worshipping, and meeting, people may have needed to cultivate to sustain their new lifestyle. This shows cultivation did not cause settlements. Pause to consider that. The drive to fit in, gain friends, and develop something bigger may have outweighed the need for nourishment. How did early people decide to chisel massive stone pillars, circle them, and paint pictures on them? It wasn't hunger. Meant something. A neighborhood. It was thought. Göbekli Tepe's massive stone walls and intricately engraved symbols prove that elaborate spiritual systems existed thousands of years before writing or the wheel. But wasn't a passing visit, as the place was carefully planned. The plan existed. Leaders ran things. The plan existed. Another key insight that alters everything is that hunter-gatherers were hard. They didn't dwell in loosely organized groups that moved to survive. No, not all. Long-term goals, social orders, and work divisions may have existed. They may have collaborated and built a strong culture to complete initiatives that took years or decades. This wouldn't be expected from folks who hadn't learned to grow. Geometrically savvy builders planned Göbekli Tepe. Recent findings demonstrate that many stone pillars were perfectly circular or oval. Hunter-gatherers learned mathematics, something no one thought they did. That amount of knowledge creation makes me think of planning sessions, assigning tasks, and rudimentary government. No substantial evidence that plants were tamed or farming was popular when Göbekli Tepe was erected. That raises the possibility that gathering to create holy places was the reason people started farming. More frequent building and prayer would have required a more reliable food source. It would have limited their hunting and gathering. So farming may have begun as a result of civilization, not as a cause. People have never considered our questions. How were ancient people fed while cutting and moving gigantic stone columns? Their direction was what? Did anyone oversee architecture, art, planning, or religion? Did they trade with nearby groups? Was there money then? What myths or stories united them? This kind of question concerning hunter-gatherers is rare. You must inquire at Göbekli Tepe. When we include all historical societies, the ripple effect is much more intriguing. Göbekli Tepe originated thousands of years before other notable sites. Comparing Göbekli Tepe to megalithic sites elsewhere reveals a curious trend. Despite being built by different cultures at different times and places, these sites are strikingly similar. Early humans in diverse countries seem to want to build enormous, holy, long-lasting stone monuments. Stonehenge comes to mind immediately since everyone knows it. A ring of massive standing stones in England's countryside is Stonehenge. Nearly 3,000 years ago they were built, approximately 6,000 years after Göbekli Tepe. However, it's eerie and familiar. Big circular enclosures with sky designs are at both spots. Both venues were crucial for meeting. We don't know how or why they were developed in both circumstances. A random event? Perhaps. It may also indicate a long-standing habit of manufacturing sacred stones. Malta also has temples like Augantija. These limestone dwellings are among the world's oldest. Around 3,600 years ago they were built. Malta's churches were erected before most people had metal tools. Building them required coordination, planning, and skilled engineering for seemingly primitive people. Artwork on the temples suggests they were utilized for religious rituals. Buildings are utilized for more than shelter and defense. The symbolism may be spiritual, social, or both. The Mediterranean island of Minorca is next. The talas are visible. T-shaped stone monuments in open settings are commonly encircled with horseshoe-shaped stones. It sounds familiar, right? The layout resembles Göbekli Tepe enclosures in some ways. From 1,000 years before the Common Era, the talas are younger. They show that utilizing large stones to shape holy or ritual space persisted. Over time, it changed and returned. Easter Island Moai are different. The Rapa Nui built these massive stone figures between 1250 and 1400 CE. They are far apart in space and time, but the desire remains. Stone statues that reflect more than just form have been carved and built anew with skill and hard labor. They had religious, cultural, and political significance. They bonded people. Identity was created. Shared holy locations, communal organization, symbolic art, and early engineering may have spread from Göbekli Tepe. Cultures interact through trade, mobility, and tales. Building is another issue. It wasn't only Göbekli Tepe with circular buildings, stone walls, and carvings. Later ancient cultures used similar tactics. Were they standalone ideas? Perhaps. I find it intriguing that these cultures didn't duplicate each other. They couldn't. Oceans, centuries, and distinct worldviews separated these societies. However, the agreement matters. Interestingly, people from around the world who had never met were building things to move stone, shape space, and tell stories. Something profoundly human is echoed worldwide. In this larger context, what does Göbekli Tepe do? Think about Göbekli Tepe as one of the first speakers in a long conversation about civilization. That voice wasn't the only one, but it said something essential. Others may have interpreted the message differently. There, it's more than symbolic. People initially used structure to express their thoughts at Göbekli Tepe, either through cultural diffusion, shared human behavior, or parallel growth. Not just rocks. Related to community, trust, who you are, the desire to leave a mark. And we meant something. New ideas in architecture didn't end at Göbekli Tepe. It wove, it altered. British stone circles, Mediterranean churches, and Pacific statues reflect its character. They're not isolated. These are part of a tale. That story may have begun with hunter-gatherers constructing stone pillars on a dusty hill in southeastern Turkey, challenging everyone's understanding of society's origins. We see more than simply that ancient humans built large things when we bring these world landmarks together, because they had enormous ideas. Time, the place, their global role. That notion grew stone by stone over many years and locales. Göbekli Tepe says society didn't start as we imagined. No straight route connected planting seeds to developing cities. It was more creative, spiritual, messy, and surprising. The ruins at Göbekli Tepe may have been the remnants of something earlier, known as the beginning, cradle, or spark. But what if it's a cracker? Someone was creating, believing, and planning before we believed they could raise this. Maybe we're perceiving things wrong, not as the first steps toward civilization, but as a continuation. It helps me consider broader issues. Are other sites buried for hundreds of years, set to revolutionize what we know? Could more advanced societies have perished due to natural calamities or time? Very intriguing. More we dig, the more the past speaks. It's not easy or crazy to whisper. It presents a new story that keeps us listening. Assume we weren't the first advanced society on Earth, merely the first to survive. Everything we found at Göbekli Tepe may be real. How does Göbekli Tepe fit into world history?